When your games don't sell. Please don't tell me to stop working on my game and make a new game. Okay, please. That's the only thing I ask of you. Give me a way to make the game better. Say that you can make it better. And don't tell me to make a new game, please, okay? That's all I ask. That's all I want. Like, you can say anything else. I don't care. But just don't tell me, don't.
Hi, everyone. It's
Hello.
me, Tim. Today I want to talk to you about
Imager?
what you should do when your game doesn't
Before
sell.
he play. Sorry about
been
that.
there. Well,
These guys
I've
just
been-
can't stop. Let's say hello
Hi,
to
everyone.
Tim again.
It's me, Tim.
Hello.
Today I want to talk to you about
Yep.
what you should do when your game doesn't sell.
Yes. No wish
I've been
lists.
there. Well, I've been there.
You
I
have
did a whole video, in fact, on data about my games, talking about their sales figures and how it doesn't always seem to correlate with.
I wonder if he's making indie games now. I don't think he is. Like, we checked it out a lot of times, but there is nothing really that he links here. I wonder why. If he has a solo game, I would link it in
Critical
every video.
reviews or team size or budget
Wouldn't you guys?
or any of that. The video is linked below in the description. But I want to talk to those few of you who are going to make games and they're not going to sell very well. Now, I realize some of you aren't going to make games. That may be even be the majority of you. And then a few of you are going to make only games that sell remarkably well. This video
Is that me? Not you? You don't know that?
is not for you unicorns. It's for developers like me and the rest of you who are going to make games that aren't going to sell well. And you're left thinking, what was that about? And I'm going to talk about it, but let me just warn you, there's going to be a lot of people who just wade in and say, yeah, you made a bad game, you should make a better one. Which, I've done a whole video about people who say games are bad, and it's linked below. And what they really mean is they didn't like it, even though they may couch it as, no, it was an objectively bad game.
Yeah, but there are objectively bad games, bro. Like, you can't say that. For example, you make a platformer, and your platforming sucks, feels unintuitive, and junky, and clunky. That's a bad game, because the number one thing that makes platformers fun is the platforming. Then you failed at making a fun game. So the game sucks? I've played countless platformers that sucked. Let the man give you a pep talk. Bloons CD is objectively good. True. What would you do if the game sells 5 copies after 3 years, Cakez? That won't happen because I'm streaming every day. It will not sell 5 copies after 3 years. Like, that would have... No way. It just doesn't work like that way. I had 20 players on my demo version. So I'm expecting at least that many sales when I release the game. Now, that's not much, but at least that many I'm expecting. Probably more. Like, I'm not delusional, right? I don't expect my game to have like a trillions and billions and millions of sales, but I'm also not expecting it to have no sales at all. Because, and yeah, I think we are past that. It's not going to be 200-page game, Zakaza. No.
Watch me prove it. And I don't know what to say to these people because I pointed out that there are games on Steam that some people liked, even though a lot of people didn't. There are a lot of games.
Yeah, but these guys are idiots. Like, for example, you can like Avowed when you don't know Skyrim. Because you have never experienced Skyrim, and then Avowed feels good to you, like a good game. But when you know Skyrim, Avowed becomes a terrible game for you, because they don't even do arrows right. Bad take? It's not a bad take. The NPCs don't do anything. I might be wrong about the game, but I think it's Avowed. Or is it Awakening 9? Avowed. No, I think that's the game, is it? Wait, Avowed versus Skyrim. Is that a video? Or was it Awakening 9? Was that Avowed? It was that game? Yeah. So videos, YouTube. Avowed versus Skyrim, direct comparison. And then Avowed versus... this one right here. Yeah, I'll watch that. You think liking games is all objective? That I said it's subjective. I'm saying, I'm talking about the perspective of a gamer that has experienced Skyrim playing Avowed, and I'm talking about the experience of a gamer that didn't experience Skyrim playing Avowed. You said nobody who played Skyrim likes Avowed? Yes. I might have said that, but I meant that it is very likely that you will not like Avowed, because you can see the differences. You can see the cheap design. I'm not saying it's all about luck, no. Where's that coming from, by the way?
That many people love, but a few people have real strong objections to and don't like. So throw out all the whole idea of a bad game or a good one, and besides... those kind of things are completely unconstructive. I'm going to try to give you constructive ways of looking at a game you've made that didn't sell like you wanted to, and you want to improve.
I want more wish lists
through the process the next time.
Yeah.
So let's look at why games don't sell. I'm going to talk about reasons that have to do with the game, and then reasons that have nothing to do with the game itself. And some of these you can control, and some you can't, and that depends on your situation. So let's talk about game reasons that a game didn't sell well.
I like the new people coming in. Chat is completely unconstructive. What a surprise. Yeah. There's no point in engaging with this, because these guys they try to take what I say and anything they can try to find, put it against it. Yeah.
Probably the biggest one is it's buggy. And that's what reviewers will say and game players will say. It's buggy. Sometimes this is code bugs. It may crash. It may run really slow.
I don't think we're going to have this much of an issue with this anymore, since we are using DirectX now and we're going to have a couple of play tests. We have enough of a player pool that we will most likely catch. I don't want to say 100%, because you can never get 100%. But let's talk about crashes. I think we can get to 95 to 98 or 99% of crashes. Fix those. We get a lot of crashes from users. You guys have a lot of different PCs. You guys are all tech savvy. I'm very lucky to have you guys help me out with this. 98% crashes I think we can fix before launch. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the demo was for that. The demo was for crashing, and I fixed many of the crashes.
There may be actual errors in the code. Now, running slow can also be from other reasons, and a real common one is an artist made a model that was too many polys or too big of textures, or a level designer threw so much stuff into a scene that the engine can't possibly keep up. That doesn't have to do with the programmers. It has to do with tools the programmer made.
Yeah, but that's still a bad game then, because the game lags and people think that laggy games, or people perceive laggy games as lower quality games, and then they called it out that it's a bad game. So you can fix that. But it's still a bad game because it lags. People hate laggy games.
Abused. I've talked about that with scripts, Arcanum scripts. I tried to make sure that you couldn't make a loop. People found a way of making a loop.
Shouldn't that get sorted out in playtesting? Yeah, usually you sort this out in playtesting, but not every game sorts out all of their stuff in playtesting. Look at the big games, like for example Diablo 4. It's a big game company. They had 1 to 2 playtests. People told them what was wrong with the game. They still went to release the game they wanted to release instead of listening to the community. It's a bad game then, simple that. You saw that stuff in playtest? Yeah, usually you do.
In most of the
Stop pausing, clown. Okay, you're done. Goodbye.
Modern engines like Unreal, there are blueprints, and anybody can make a blueprint, and it can lead to literal bugs in the game, but that's not a programmer doing that. But the programmers will get blamed. Sorry, programmers. So in addition to bad code and bad scripts, well, a little more about scripts. You may see a lot of things in the game, like a creature doesn't spawn correctly, or an item doesn't show up where it's supposed to, or you go to turn in a quest and...
But how do I make it better?
The game doesn't recognize you've completed the quest. Those are usually bad conditions in a script somewhere, and people will go, oh, that's super buggy. Yes, but that's not a programmer. That's usually conditions in a script
but that's still a bad game.
Put in.
So you make it better.
And then finally, there can be design flaws.
Yeah, but that's a bad game. When a quest bugs and you can't progress, that's a bad game. So you make the game better.
Look like bugs, but really, you know, the programmer and the scripters and the artists and everything did exactly what the design document said.
Rico is timed out for the entire day. Goodbye.
And there's a problem in the game. I've done that. Arcanum had numerous flaws that were in the base design document. So everything was made exactly the way it was written in the design document, especially the places I wrote in the design document. But the problem, the bugs in the game, were in the design, not the implementation of the design. So those are all the ways the games can be buggy.
Yeah, okay, but that's a bad game.
There are some other reasons a game cannot sell well that have to do with the game that have nothing to do.
But everything he said so far is something that you can improve as a game developer to make the game better. These are in my opinion, these are the easy things. You have a scene that's laggy. You try to reduce the polygon count. You try to reduce what the scene is doing. Maybe you merge stuff together. Maybe you remove some of the scripts. Maybe they don't need to run. So that's something very easy to fix. So far, he has described what bad games are. And so I still think that bad games just don't sell well for these reasons. Because the developers don't fix most of these issues. Or they put out a game that doesn't even play well at all.
Do with the implementation per se. And that's, I'll categorize all that as niche. You may make a game with a setting that just doesn't have broad appeal. There's not a lot of people out there.
Guys, don't tell me to skip the video. Let me watch the video. I want to watch it. And come back when I'm done watching it. Goodbye.
Interested in playing
Let me watch the video!
You know, multi-dimensional being that likes to clean houses. Or you may make a story that just has limited appeal. People can't relate to the
but
characters.
I agree with you guys.
Characters are a good example of if you have characters
what can
that
you
people
do
find
if
hard
the
to
game
relate
doesn't
to,
sell, though?
It may make your game have a limited appeal. It's not bad, but that's why it's not selling well. Similarly with mechanics, you may decide to make an isometric game and people think, sorry, that's over. You may make a turn-based game, and people don't like those as much as real-time. Or you may pick an art style that a lot of people are like, I don't really like that art style. It's not that it's bad. It's just that you've incredibly...
No, it is bad. If you don't like the art style and you have 60 to 70% of people saying they don't like the art style, then the art style sucks. You could get unlucky, have a small sample size. I'll take Immo. Undertale art sucked. You guys are wrong. Undertale art does not suck. I'll show you. I knew this was gonna happen. Thank you very much. Undertale art. Undertale art is cheap but good. It absolutely works, yeah. And so I can show you, I don't like talking about other people though. What this is, guys, is called art direction. It is bad on purpose. Okay, Mr. Aware of this shit, how many people do you think worked on that, lol? Too many people. For too little outcome, bro. That's my honest opinion. But that's still like a problem with RPG games. I feel like they're trying to just become a bigger open world. Very ugly game. Well, you think that it is ugly, but most people don't think that it's ugly. Super cool. My point is that if 90% of people think it's ugly, or 60 or 70% of people think it's ugly and therefore won't play it, then the art needs to change. Maybe you don't have art direction at all. I don't like talking about other people because there are some friends in the channel here and I respect them for bringing out games, but there is, and no, I'm not talking about Shady 11. I'm talking about someone else. I'm not talking about you. When the game does not have art direction, which this game has, the art feels out of place. Let's move on. So, no, I don't agree. You might think this is ugly, okay, but it is art direction. It is a certain art style that is consistent throughout the game. The art style never breaks. And so it is consistently, you can call it consistently bad art. It's not trash, guys. Again, it is art direction. There's a reason to he's doing that. And you can read an entire article on this if you don't believe me, but we don't have time for this.
Limited the scope of people who would be interested in your game in the first place.
Check out The Escapist on Steam. Bad art and it's super successful game. Okay, let's look at this game. The Escapist. Yeah, so I'm hoping to see a bad art game right now. It maybe has a bit overly bloom, but this is just probably fog because they're taking a bath right now. I don't know. I mean, you could say that maybe the walls are kind of out of place, but it is an art style again. It is a more realistic art style. Maybe the walls feel a little out of place in the ground. I would agree there. Oh, is it a very deep game? Is that what we're looking at here? I mean, it looks okay. Very positive. Pixel graphics, strategy, crafting, single player. Deep in prison, maybe. If it's an art style, it can't be bad. I like the Undertale art. Gives me nostalgia. Reminds me of my childhood. It's supposed to be ceiling lights. Ah, I see. Look at the art style of Dwarf Fortress, consistent but terrible. I mean, it's difficult to talk about art. Yeah, maybe you guys are right there. I think Dwarf Fortress has good pixel art. Dwarf Fortress. I think it looks okay. Wow, it actually looks really good. I don't know what you guys are talking about. What do you mean this looks bad? This is amazing, what? Damn. That's crazy. Just look at this oven, guys. Wait till you see the animation. Well, okay. Well, I haven't seen the animation, but this looks nice. This looks a bit odd, for sure. Yeah. Is this Cake secret game? No, that's not me. But anyways, let's move on. Okay, let's see what else he has to say. Because so far, he didn't tell us anything what we could do to make the game better or what we could do when the game doesn't sell. Huh?
And then your sales.
Let's hear it.
So if you decide to go with something that's niche, understand that if this doesn't catch on, it's going to stay niche. And you're going to appeal to a very small number of people. So those, I think, are the two biggest reasons games don't sell well. They're either buggy in all the different ways I said they could be buggy, or they're niche, so they just don't appeal. But there's a couple other reasons games cannot sell well.
But if there's no appeal, then is that niche or is there just no appeal? Because I feel like even if you have a niche game, like for example a tower defense game, you can still have appeal. Otherwise balloons wouldn't be that big. He means niche. Well, yeah, he means niche in a way where, I don't know, you make a tower defense game and then a subgenre of tower defense game, a specific one.
that have nothing to do with the game itself. The first one has to do with timing. When the game was released. Maybe the market was saturated with games. And it's just...
Yeah, for example, releasing a Vampire Survivors clone now would be more difficult than it was 2 to 3 years ago.
There were so many games people could have bought that they bought other games besides yours, or that it diluted the market.
Let's say 2 years ago, because it's very recent.
So a lot of games went out. Any one of those games would have sold well, but because there's 10 of them, they all sold It can also happen if it's a seasonal game. If you're putting out a holiday-themed game in July or a beach game in the winter, it may not sell well just because people aren't in the mood for that style of game at that time.
That makes sense.
And then another timing issue that happens frequently is you put out a game, but a similar game came out to yours around the same time. Maybe it's 2 fantasy RPGs, or maybe it's 2 FPSs set in a very similar setting. And the other one did good and yours didn't. It's sometimes a similar game can just outperform yours. If you had come out a year earlier or a year later, your game would have done better.
Huh. Where have we heard about that? Huh?
Timing.
And
then related to that is marketing. There's a whole bunch of ways marketing can fail to support a game. There can be too little marketing. There's very few ads, very few ways people are even made aware your game exists.
Concord didn't have much marketing, I think.
Not very good. Either they don't look good, they don't attract anyone's attention, or they show your game in a way that isn't really what your game is.
Unknown 9 Awakening, like those games, I know that they were colossal failures compared to the money put in. Unknown 9 more so than the others. And I feel like they didn't really have that much advertising at all. But I'm not a good target for AAA, by the way. I barely watch any AAA trailers because I always get turned off. The only reason why I watch From Software trailers is because they mostly only show gameplay. I like that a lot.
It's about, so you're not attracting the people who would want
Gothic Remake? Yeah. Gothic Remake is CGI.
Play your game.
So I'm wary about that, but they also show a lot of gameplay, which is very nice.
Also, they may not be placed in the right place. They may be put on sites where people who want to play your game don't tend to go to those sites. So it's a demographic thing. You basically miss the demographic. All this boils down to discoverability, which I have a whole video about, and I'll link it below.
I think he might be a little outdated when it comes to discoverability because Steam plays a huge role on that right now. The Steam algorithm promotes your game a lot. If I apply that to my discoverability on Steam, the only thing I did was update my game on Steam. I didn't write a single post. I had a demo version out for 2 years, and now I don't have a demo version out at all. And comparatively to YouTube and Twitch, which I do 5 days a week, I'm getting a quarter of the amount of wishlists I'm getting from Steam by putting my game into every single video description that I do. I put my game up on Twitch. I advertise it there. I basically develop my game on Twitch, so I always talk about it essentially. And so all of this traction that comes in consistently is not even a dent in the huge block that is Steam. Steam can do so much more for your game than, unless you are Danny, the YouTuber Danny who's making massive videos with millions of views. Then yeah. But Steam is just insane. Danny, not Daddy.
And discoverability is becoming harder and harder as more games come out. It is just, the market has so many games that finding your
First
game
become
is
Mr. Beast and publish game,
which is making marketing more and more important. And I know a lot of people don't like that, but
the Twitch stream is a long ad for the game, that is correct. Yes. But it's usually also always the same people. Not always. There are, people that follow, like for example, Walter and Greedy Goblin and So Cool and Marda. Like you guys, thank you very much for following. The people come in here that find the stream, of course. But compared to Steam, that's nothing.
You do in a world where 25,000 games come out a year. It's hard to find your game among 25,000. So Those are the game and non-game reasons, the biggest ones that I can think of.
What do we do then?
Now you have to figure it out. Your game is shipped, and you want to figure out why didn't it sell.
You mean it's shit?
Well, which of these apply to your game? Lots of people will give you different reasons. And remember, I've talked about how failure is an orphan. When your game doesn't sell, there'll be a lot of finger pointing. People go, you didn't implement it right, and your design was horrible, and marketing sucked, and all this. It's going to be hard to tell, and people will not agree on this.
I don't think it's going to be hard to tell at all. And I think AQ brings up a good point. He has said multiple times that everything he's saying is from a company plus publisher point of view. He has no knowledge about the indie developer side of things. I feel like he doesn't, yes. Because this stuff doesn't really apply to me. It doesn't at all apply to me. Because I get feedback from the game, I can change it immediately. And I do. And it makes the game better. So maybe indie developers have an advantage in that big companies don't have. But they do get a lot of feedback, man. Like Diablo 4 developers got a shit ton of feedback when they first released the game. It was free. I played the game when it was free. I had a lot of feedback. Like these guys can see the feedback easily. So easy for them.
But even if you can get them to agree, there's usually multiple reasons, and they disagree on the weighting. Like, yeah, I agree the design wasn't that good, but you guys, your implementation, I mean, it crashed a lot.
So basically, yeah, it makes sense. So maybe there is not much information we can get out of this from the indie developer side of things, because he's talking about internal company disputes, shifting blame, saying, oh, I didn't do it correctly. No, wait, what do you mean I didn't do it correctly? You didn't do it correctly. Stuff like that. Yeah, we don't have that.
Probably why most people were put off from the game. So even if you can get people to agree on the reasons, they won't agree on the weighting or the priority of those reasons. It's really hard to be objective about it too. You're not going to want to blame yourself.
Of course.
Publishers aren't going to want to blame themselves. You know, it wasn't our marketing. Players aren't going to say, oh yeah, I bought a game and I just wasn't into it. Nope, it's a bad game.
Yeah, it is.
Even though I think everybody who liked it is a stupid idiot paid shill. Because I didn't like it, it must be a bad game. It's just so hard to come up with an objective reason. So
I don't even think that's true. You can be alone and don't like and not liking a game. There are, even for the most successful games out there, there will always be negative reviews. So I think it's more about the distribution. The more positive reviews you have, the more generally positive and good your game is. That's how I see it. So if you have a very positive game, that means your game is really good. If you have a more negative game, that means you're sitting at 60, maybe 70% of rating, and that's bad. You do not want to be at 70%. Maybe, but I mean, this divide could cause a lot of hesitation when people get to your store page and they're like, 70% for the game? And then they look at your price and it says $15. $15 for 70%, bro? Nah. I usually let myself decide. Yeah, but you see the stats though. It's the same. Like maybe I'm stupid, but that's what I do. You know, for example, I want to watch a movie. I'm going to look at the stars of the movie. If it says 3 stars out of 5, I'm like, unless I know the person that is in the movie, unless I know the actor, I'm like, I don't think I can do 3 stars today, bro. That's just how I function.
You're going to hear a lot of things, and a lot of them are going to be subjective. You're going to have to try to tease out the objective reasons your game didn't sell and try to assign weights to them, because you have to do your best at this stage. Don't get discouraged. Try to figure it out. If I'd gotten discouraged from a bad game or even negative advice, there'd be no fallout. There would be no troika in any of those games. I would have left the industry after making Grand Slam Bridge, which I didn't even get credits on. You know, I should have just gone, oh, I'm done. So I'm just saying, do your best.
We just read that. There was a person that said, oh, I'm done.
Learn from the game when it doesn't sell. Try to focus on what reviews are saying, what people are saying when it's constructive. If they just go, it's bad, just go, okay, and move on. When people are saying, oh, I didn't like how this feature worked, or I wish it had had this feature, which a lot of other games in this genre have, focus on those. And then, for the ones you can control, try to do better next time.
Yeah, I mean, as indie developers, we can control everything because we're making the game.
There will be
alone.
some you can't control. Maybe you can't control your marketing department.
You can. As a solo indie game developer, you can. You can write emails.
Maybe you can't. You weren't in control of deciding the setting of the game.
You can.
Pick
As a
the ones
solo
you can
developer.
control, try to figure out what you can do better on the next game, and make a next game. If you get discouraged early, like I said, 44 years in.
I'm not gonna make a next game because I'm still working on that game. And I'm gonna finish that first, and then we make a next game.
Counting in this industry, there were many times people said, your games were terrible, you should stop. You wouldn't have had a lot of the games that came subsequently, and I guarantee there's people out there who like some of the ones that came out subsequently. So,
Shade 11.
I'm begging
I think your first game was better than your second.
you, if you make a game that doesn't sell, treat it as a learning experience. Try to figure out why it didn't sell, what you can control, and what you can do better next time.
I like my second
And I
more.
guarantee you,
Probably because you spend more time on it.
you're going to have a hit eventually.
Okay, my man. So this one didn't really apply to us, sadly. I was hoping that he would give us some actual and actionable steps, but I suppose this is more from the view of a company type video game developer. That would apply to, I don't even know, probably not Ubisoft at this point, right? Because their game won't sell enough, for sure. Their game doesn't sell good enough. It's good advice to not give up. Yeah, I guess that's true. Yeah, we've been going on for a long time because we found out that the Subnautica developer or the Far Sky developer, basically Subnautica is highly inspired by that, which is, I didn't know that. It's kind of like a copy before the game even came out, which was crazy. I didn't know about that. That was interesting. Yeah, and then he just took off all of his games from Steam and quit development altogether. Unfortunately. Well, dang, I still want to know what to do if my game flops. Well, okay, fine. What should you do if your game flops?
And it's
If this guy can't tell us, then we just do the common sense thing. We look at, do we have a good enough game to continue developing on it? So, we put out a game on Steam. How many players do we have? Let's say your game does not look like this, but it maybe it looks more like this. You have like 3-4 players every day. Maybe a bit more, maybe a bit less. Well, that could be a game. You have an interest in the game, a baseline interest in the game that doesn't subside. It never falls completely to zero. Maybe you can keep making the game better. But if you have something like this, you barely get any feedback, any reviews, you put your game on itch, it doesn't get any reviews or traction there. You have spent a lot of time on it. Maybe that's a good situation where you say, okay, right, fine. I made a game. I tried my best. It didn't work out. Let's move on. One person or she means 0 essentially in this graph because they don't play for long enough. If it was consistently 2 or 3, then that would be good enough. But this one here means there was a person that logged into the game for 5 to 10 minutes and then logged off. It's basically 0 players. And the reason why I know this in this scenario is because you can look at the stats for your demo. You can look at the sales and activation reports. And then it shows you how long people play. And then you click here. You click on this link and it shows you the breakdown. Before I released my demo version, this was close to 90%, 10 minutes. So someone logged in and within the first 10 minutes, they closed the game again. But they would still count, they would still count as a player here. Basically a dead game. So if your game looks like this, and then your lifetime player count looks like that too, where they play for 3 minutes or 6 minutes, when the medium time played is so low that it doesn't even go beyond 10 minutes, you have released the game and you're kind of exhausted. Hey, that's when I would say, move on, make a new game.